You know, when you're as big of a fan of music, specifically rock, as I am, it's always a shame when one of your favorite bands decides to release what is their final album. And I'm not gonna lie, that happened to me a couple days ago on Friday the 24th, and I was sad. I was really heartbroken by this, man. Let me preface this a little bit. One of my favorite bands of all time is Godsmack. I love Godsmack stuff. I particularly love their early albums, from their debut all the way up until about Faceless, and some of the hits in between are also fantastic. When Legends Rise, which was their last album before this one, came out, I thought it was a pretty good album. It was a little bit too generic sounding for me, but it was still overall solid. So that kind of begged the question, what's going to happen going forward with the band? Because I'm not going to say When Legends Rise wasn't a success by any means, but it certainly wasn't what I would call a memorable album. It had some great songs on there. Unforgettable, When Legends Rise, Bulletproof, Eye of the Storm. So many good fucking bangers in there. But they had this very generic sounding tone to the music that I just couldn't shake, and it kind of bothered me just a little bit. So when I find out, you know, a year or two ago, that they're making another album, I'm like, oh shit, this is fantastic. I can't wait. Little by little, news about this album starts coming out, and it is widely regarded by the rock media as their final album as a band. And that is the worst collection of words that I think any fan of any band can ever hear in their lifetime. Their final album. When you support a band as long as Godsmack's been around, you know, they've been around since 97, 98, it's huge, man. It's a huge deal for someone like me. So, as they released these singles, they released Surrender, and then they released You and I think they released another single that flew under the radar for me because I just didn't get a chance to listen to it, and I didn't hear anything about it because I wasn't checking in on the news at the time. Every time I was listening to these songs, I couldn't help but have this bitter feeling inside of me. Now, the songs weren't bad by any means of the imagination, but I could not shake this feeling that the songs sounded a lot like songs that were on When Legends Rise. And I'm already worried when I hear Surrender. Then You and I came out, and I was like, this isn't bad. I like this song. It still sounds a little bit generic for me, but it's not a bad song. And then the album comes out on Friday. I didn't find out until the day before that the album was coming out. I'm like, oh shit, I know what I'm doing after work tomorrow. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this album, and You and I is the first song on the album. Great choice for an opener, in my opinion. Then we move on to a more patriotic song in Red, White, and Blue. Now, depending on how you feel about the state of America and politics in America, you might feel one way about the song, you might feel another. Quite frankly, I think the song does a decent job kind of sort of being down the middle, but knowing that Sully Erna is a bit more of a Republican, I think it probably leans a little bit more towards that side, but that's just my opinion. It's not a bad song, though. It's a typical pro-America song. It's a little heavier, too, which is kind of nice. Then Surrender comes out, another good song. And I like Surrender, but at this point in the album, I can't help but feel that a lot of this album, they say, and I'll quote this from Sully, they say this is some of the best stuff they've ever written. Godsmack, as a band. Some of the best music they've ever put out. I don't necessarily think so. If we look at the first three songs, I think the songs are fine. They're not bad. But they feel so generic. You know? The music itself isn't really that heavy. I don't necessarily know if the mixing is all that good, because I feel like there are some aspects of the music that could be just overall better, in my honest opinion. And I don't know anything about music production at all, but I don't know, something about the way the overall album sounded just had like this very generic feel to it, and I feel like the instrumentals weren't as profound as you're typically used to hearing on a Godsmack album, and that's kind of a shame. It's just, I wanted something heavier It's not that it wasn't heavy in some regards, but I wanted something heavier. So once Surrender comes on, I'm listening to these songs and I'm like, it just feels like recycled content from When Legends Rise. It feels like the riffs could have been on that album. It feels like the way the lyrics are could have been on that album. And again, When Legends Rise is not a bad album, but it's not really memorable, in my honest opinion, if we compare the overall scope of their discography in Godsmack. And Surrender really has that feeling of genericism to it for me. Is that even a word, genericism? I don't know. If it is, it is. But if it isn't, I just created it. So, and I'm not shitting on the band. I like the album, but it just couldn't help but shake this feeling inside of me that it feels like it's just a recycled content album as far as like riffs go and as far as maybe lyrical subjects go. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. I'm not a critic when it comes to music here on YouTube. I talk about music occasionally, but it's not like I'm the needle drop or anything who's very critical and overall puts really shitty artists, in my opinion, in high regard when there's much better stuff out there, in my honest opinion. But that's neither here nor there. And now after Surrender, next up on the song list, we have What About Me? And much like the rest of the songs I just talked about thus far in the video, you know, it's a mildly heavy song. I think Sully's vocals are pretty good in it, to be honest with you. But at the same time, and I won't reiterate this point much more because I feel like I've really beat a dead horse at it with this point, it just sounds generic. It just sounds like another generic song. Now, as we move on from that, we go to a song named Truth, which kind of has more of a ballad feel to it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Godsmack doing ballads. When Legends Rise released, they had a song called Under Your Scars, and to be honest with you, while it's not a bad song, it's not my favorite song on the album, if that makes any sense at all to you. It's just that when I imagine Godsmack, I don't imagine slow, ballad-like songs. Like, I imagine slower, heavier songs. You know, if we're talking Serenity, or if we're talking even Spiral, if you want to go down that road. Maybe Voodoo, too, if you consider Voodoo kind of a slower song. You know, they do slower songs, but I don't know, something about the way they've been doing these ballad songs from Under Your Scars to now, it just isn't hitting for me, to be honest with you. Now, granted, if I'm going to choose between those two songs, between Truth and Under Your Scars, I prefer Truth a little bit more. And I only say that because I feel that the subject matter of the song is a little bit more engaging for me, because it clearly feels like there's a story behind that song. And I don't know, something about it and the way that it's written is like engaging for me to listen to. Hell's Not Dead, probably one of the more heavier songs on the album. Although if I'm being honest with you, there's not necessarily really like a heavy song that stands out amongst each other, because they all just sound the same. Like I said, that sense of genericism that I keep getting when I hear these songs. They just all kind of sound similar for me. Soul on Fire. Soul on Fire is another pretty decent song on the list. But, and I'm not gonna lie to you, they released the video to the song, and I honestly haven't seen it yet, and I intend to watch it. I did see a clip that they post on social media. I guess the subject matter of the song itself kind of coincides with the video a little bit. I normally, and at least in present day music, a lot of these videos make no fucking sense to the actual song that's being written and performed by the artist. And it just becomes confusing for maybe me personally as a listener. But Soul on Fire, from the one clip I saw on Instagram, I don't know, man, the chick in the video's hot. I guess it has something to do with the actual subject matter in some way, shape, or form. Since it seems like it is a very female-centric type of song from the lyrics that I've been reading. But still, it's pretty solid. Let's Go. That's another pretty good one, too. I enjoyed that one a lot. You know, I will say this one thing about Let It Go, man. Let It Go is the longest fucking song on this album, and it only beats You and I by about like 30-something seconds, maybe. But man, The reason why it's so long, to me, just may very well be the best part of the entire song to me, and that's that instrumental break in the midpoint of the song. And I don't know, something about it I fucked with. When I was listening to it, I was just like, man, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this direction that this song has gotten taken into. The pace of the song is kind of slowed a little bit, and now it's just a bunch of instrumental noises, and the drums are going off. There's some guitar effects that are in there. It was really cool to listen to, if I'm being honest. But these next 3 songs fucked me up, dude. I honestly, I said this on Twitter. These last 3 songs take me on an emotional roller coaster that's both beautiful and heartbreaking all at the same time. Obviously, considering this is the last album of Godsmack, I expected one song, at least, that kind of described the journey of the band for the last 20-something years. For instance, in Best of Times, 27 years gone by, the first line in the song, as I'm looking at it right now on Genius. But it's a really good storytelling song of the band, and you can tell that they all still have a lot of love for each other. I don't think there's ever even any ill will in the band to cause the split. They just wanted to move on, and that's great. And I really get the sense that through listening to this song, it's like a brotherhood. And I love that shit. I really do. It made me happy. It made me feel a certain kind of way listening to Best of Times. The next song, Growing Old, again, a slower song, but for some reason I appreciate it more than, say, the last couple of slower songs. Because, again, I feel like this song also has something to do with the fact that, hey, we're getting old. We want to appreciate the time that we not only have left on this earth, but with our families, And maybe I'm interpreting it differently, but through the lyrics that I was reading as I was listening to the song on the first go-around, I just thought to myself, man, they really are coming home. And even then, they say, but for how long, I don't know. And that could mean anything. It could mean, hey, I could be dead tomorrow. It could mean, hey, I got this other project I want to work on, so I might have to go out and tour for a little bit to promote this new solo project or something. It could mean a whole bunch of different things. But at least there's this sense of like, hey, I'm back, and I'm home now. And I think Growing Old, coming off of Best of Times, is like a really nice pace for me. I don't know why the pacing of those 2 songs, one after another, kind of coincides with each other really well. But the next song takes me on a fucking roller coaster, man. Lighting Up the Sky. I think this is also another song that is a little bit less specific in the sense it's telling you kind of a story of the band and their lifestyle as they're touring, probably getting fucked up in some capacity. I wouldn't put it past them. But man, it's a really great song. But what sticks out the most to me is the outro. The outro fucks me up to a degree that I can't describe you. There were legitimate tears running down my face as the outro was playing. And I clicked on Genius, because I was reading the lyrics on there, and I clicked on, why is this highlighted? Because obviously Genius tells you facts about some of the lyrics of the songs, and somebody was smart enough to pick up on the fact that the outro of the song has lyrics of several songs from the first album. Allow me to read you off a list, if I may. Moon Baby, Whatever, Get Up, Get Out, Keep Away, Time Bomb, and Voodoo. And when I hear the I'm Not the One Who's So Far Away and the album ends, I was an emotional wreck, dude. I was an emotional fucking wreck. I can't begin to describe you as I'm kind of, why the fuck am I crying? I'm welling up as I'm talking about this again. Jesus, man. God, what have you guys done to me, Godsmack? Oh, shit. But I honestly will say, I will honestly tell you that if this is the last album, which it probably is, it's been reported that it's the last album, I don't want to say it's not memorable, but I have that sneaking suspicion that it just kind of falls in line with When Legends Rise. It's a good album, but there's nothing about it that really screams out to me outside of like the first few songs of the album and then the last three. That's just my honest opinion. Everything in between can be given or taken away. Everything else in between kind of falls into place. But I will say this much. When they go on tour, despite all the shit, for lack of better terms, I just said about this album, I will fucking be attending those tours. I can't not attend if they come through Jersey or even like Philly area or like New York or something. I can't not go. Because Godsmack's been a band that I've wanted to see live for a long time because I think they sound tremendous live. I just can't help but shake this feeling that I gotta go because it may never happen again. It probably will never happen again. So we'll find out what happens, and if you see a concert video on the YouTube channel, you know I went, that's for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about this album here today. I appreciate you being here. Follow me on all the social media links you see down in the description below. Subscribe to the channel, hit notifications, and of course, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And to Godsmack, thank you for the memories. Have a great day.